Atletico want our striker and Arsenal want theirs, but the truth of this deal is more complicated than you think. Welcome to Wenger Arsenal Daily, your trusted home for everything Arsenal. If you have not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go and do that right now. We bring you honest, detailed, and passionate coverage of every Arsenal story, every transfer, and every big moment at this incredible club. Thousands of Gooners already trust us as their daily Arsenal source, and we want you in this family too. Now let us sit down and properly unpack one of the most talked about and most confusing transfer stories of this entire summer window, because this one has more layers to it than almost anything else happening in football right now. Introduction. In the space of just a few days, Arsenal fans have had to process some of the most dramatic and contradictory transfer headlines in recent memory. One morning you wake up and the Spanish sports media is telling you that Atletico Madrid and Arsenal have agreed a done deal worth 150 million euros that would send Victor Gyökeres to Madrid in exchange for Julian Alvarez plus 50 million euros. The next morning you are reading that the whole thing is completely made up, that no deal exists, and that Arsenal would not even consider selling Gyökeres in the first place. And somewhere in between all of that noise and all of that confusion is the actual truth of what is happening. So what is really going on here? Who are the key players in this story? Why does Atletico want Gyökeres so badly? And why is the Alvarez situation so complicated? Let us break down every single detail together and give you the honest picture that every Arsenal fan deserves to have. Chapter 1. What Atletico Madrid actually want. Let us start with Atletico Madrid's side of this story, because understanding their thinking is the key to understanding why this transfer discussion is happening at all. Atletico Madrid, managed by the legendary Diego Simeone, have built their entire identity around a specific kind of football. They are disciplined, they are physical, they are hard to beat, and their attacking play has always been built around a reliable, powerful, goal-scoring center forward. Over the years, they have had players like Diego Costa, Antoine Griezmann, and Luis Suarez in that role. Players who score goals consistently, who work hard for the team, and who can carry the weight of the attack on their shoulders. Right now, Atletico have Julian Alvarez and Alexander Sorloth as their main forward options. But here's the problem. Alvarez, despite being a brilliant player, is a different kind of forward. He is not a pure center forward in the traditional Diego Simeone sense. He likes to drift, to combine, to use clever movement. He is not the out-and-out number 9 that Simeone builds his entire system around. Sorloth is more of a target man, but has not been consistent enough to be Atletico's answer to that problem long-term. So when Atletico's recruitment team started looking at who could be their ideal pure center forward to build around for the next several years, one name kept coming up: Victor Gyökeres. And when you look at Gyökeres' qualities, it is very easy to understand why. He is physical, powerful, a constant goal threat, excellent in the air, and relentless in his pressing and work rate. He scored 21 goals in all competitions for Arsenal in his first season at the club after arriving from Sporting CP for around 70 million euros, including add-ons. He had already shown at the World Cup for Sweden that he can perform on the very biggest stages. And Simeone's Atletico are exactly the kind of team that would absolutely get the very best out of those qualities. According to reports from Goal.com, Atletico have completely altered their strategy for this summer. They had previously been in a long-running battle with Barcelona over the future of Julian Alvarez, refusing to sell to their La Liga rivals. Now they have shifted their attention to the Premier League, identifying Arsenal and a Gyökeres-centered swap deal as the most realistic path to getting the striker they want. Here's a question worth thinking about before we go any further. If you were told that a club like Atletico Madrid, one of the most respected and well-run clubs in European football, with Diego Simeone and his world-class recruitment operation behind them, had identified Gyökeres as their top priority target this summer, does that not tell you something very important about the level our striker has already reached? Chapter 2. The deal that was reported and the truth behind it. Now, let us address the elephant in the room, which is the Spanish report that caused the biggest stir. A journalist called Jordi writing and speaking about this story from a Spanish perspective, claimed loudly and confidently that Atletico Madrid and Arsenal had already struck a done deal. He said it was closed. He said Arsenal would send Gyökeres plus 50 million euros to Madrid in exchange for Julian Alvarez, making the overall value of the arrangement around 150 million euros. He even challenged Arsenal to publicly deny the report. This is the kind of headline that sends social media into meltdown within minutes. Gyökeres to Atletico. Alvarez to Arsenal. Done deal. The transfer gossip world ran with it everywhere. But here is where the truth gets important. And this is exactly why you need Wenger Arsenal Daily as your trusted source rather than just reading whatever gets retweeted the most. Team Talk, one of the most reliable and well-connected transfer news outlets in England, spoke to their insider, journalist Graham Bailey, and published a very clear verdict. No such agreement has been struck. There is no done deal. The report was, at best, a significant exaggeration of where things actually stand. What Team Talk did confirm, however, is that lines of communication between Arsenal and Atletico Madrid absolutely remain open. Arsenal are interested in Julian Alvarez. That interest is real and has been building for a long time. Atletico are interested in Gyökeres. That interest is also real. The two clubs are talking. But talking is a very long way from an agreement, and the situation is far more complicated than any single headline can capture. The key complication is the player himself. Julian Alvarez, who is currently representing Argentina at the World Cup, has made it very clear what he wants. His dream is to join Barcelona. He has said publicly, after Argentina beat Austria 2-0, that he has spoken to the right people at Atletico and that the best thing for all parties is a transfer. But the transfer he wants is to Barcelona, not to Arsenal. According to Mundo Deportivo, Alvarez has refused to participate in any transfer that does not align with his desire to join Barcelona. He did the same thing when PSG came in for him. He is apparently doing the same thing now that Arsenal are involved. His heart is set on one destination, and it is not North London. Chapter 3. Who is Julian Alvarez and why Arsenal want him? Before we go any further into the complications, it is worth pausing to properly appreciate why Arsenal would want Julian Alvarez in the first place, because the answer to that question is genuinely exciting. Julian Alvarez was born in Calchon, a tiny town in Argentina with fewer than 2,000 people. He grew up dreaming of football and rose through the system at River Plate, one of the most prestigious football academies in South America. From there, he went to Manchester City in 2022, and what followed was one of the most remarkable debut seasons any player has ever had at that club. In his very first season at City, Alvarez won the treble. He played a key role in each of the 3 trophies, scoring important goals in the Champions League campaign and the FA Cup final. He also won the World Cup with Argentina in Qatar that same year, scoring 4 goals in the tournament, including a hat-trick against Croatia in the semi-final. He was unstoppable. After 2 seasons at City, he moved to Atletico Madrid in August 2024 for around 95 million euros, which was a club record departure fee for Manchester City. And he has continued to deliver at the highest level. Across all competitions in the 2025-26 season, he registered 20 goals and 9 assists in 49 appearances for Atletico. In La Liga specifically, he scored 8 goals and added 4 assists in 29 matches, with a Champions League record of 10 goals and 4 assists in 15 games that made him the fastest South American player ever to reach 25 goals in that competition, doing it in just 41 matches and surpassing a record previously held by none other than Lionel Messi. He was also directly involved against Arsenal in the Champions League semi-final this past season, converting a penalty in the first leg at the Metropolitano. Arsenal ultimately went through to the final, but facing Alvarez showed the Gunners exactly what a difference a player like him could make. At 26 years old, with a World Cup winners' medal, Champions League winners' medal, Premier League winners' medals, and Copa America winners' medals already in his collection, Alvarez is arguably the most decorated active player of his generation outside of the very biggest superstars. For Arsenal to bring him to North London would be extraordinary business. Chapter 4. The problem with the deal as reported. So if Arsenal want Alvarez and Atletico want Gyökeres, why is there no deal? The answer comes down to three separate but equally important problems. The first problem is the one we already touched on. Alvarez himself does not want to join Arsenal. His preference is Barcelona, and he has been extremely consistent in communicating that preference to everyone involved. He turned down PSG. He is turning down Arsenal. He wants Barcelona and nothing else. That is a very significant obstacle, because even if two clubs agree a fee, you still need the player to agree personal terms and actually want to come. Right now, Alvarez does not want to come. The second problem is Arsenal's own position on Gyökeres. This is actually the most important detail in the whole story, and it is the one that gets lost in all the headlines. Team Talk, in the same report that debunked the done deal claim, also revealed something very clear. Both Mikel Arteta and sporting director Andrea Berta are enormous admirers of Gyökeres. They believe strongly that the Swedish striker still has huge room for improvement. They think he can become one of the best forwards in the Premier League over the coming seasons. And as a result, the club would be extremely reluctant to include him in any deal for Alvarez. In other words, Arsenal's ideal outcome in this situation is to sign Alvarez and keep Gyökeres. They would love to have both of them. What they do not want to do is swap one excellent striker for another when they believe the one they already have has not yet reached his ceiling. The third problem is the financial structure. Even in the version of events where Atletico want Gyökeres as part of the deal, the cash adjustment they are asking Arsenal to pay on top is significant. Reports suggest Atletico are valuing Alvarez at a figure that would require Arsenal to send both Gyökeres and a substantial additional cash payment to complete the exchange. Given that Arsenal already spent heavily last summer and need to balance their books carefully under Premier League financial rules, that kind of outlay is not straightforward. Chapter 5. What Arteta and Berta actually think. Amid all of the noise around this story, it is worth focusing on what the people who actually run Arsenal think about all of this, because their perspective is ultimately the one that matters most. The message coming from inside the club is consistent and very clear. Arteta loves Gyökeres. He believes in Gyökeres. He thinks the Swede is only at the beginning of his journey at Arsenal, and that the best is very much still to come. Reports suggest Arteta was personally heavily involved in the decision to sign Gyökeres in the first place, and that he has a specific plan for how he wants to develop him further as a player. At the same time, Arsenal's admiration for Alvarez is genuine and well documented. The club has been monitoring him for a long time and sees him as the kind of player who could add a completely different dimension to the attack. He brings technical brilliance, quick link-up play, intelligent movement in tight spaces, and the ability to operate in a false nine role or as a wide forward as well as a central striker. Those qualities would give Arteta even more tactical flexibility. So the dream scenario from Arsenal's perspective is clear. Keep Gyökeres, sign Alvarez, build an attacking unit that can challenge for everything on all fronts. The question is whether that is actually achievable given the financial realities, Atletico's demands, and most importantly Alvarez's own wishes. Team Talk also reported that Atletico have made inquiries about not just Gyökeres, but also about highly rated young Arsenal forward Ethan Nwaneri. That detail is fascinating and shows that Atletico are casting a wide net in terms of what kind of players they might accept as part of a deal. Nwaneri, who has been on loan at Marseille this season, is regarded internally at Arsenal as one of the most exciting young forwards in English football. Whether Arsenal would include him in a deal is a completely different question. Chapter 6. The broader transfer picture for Arsenal. To fully understand how the Gyökeres and Alvarez situation fits into Arsenal's summer, you need to look at the bigger picture of what the club is trying to do in this window. Arsenal have already moved quickly to try and secure Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. They are believed to be close to completing that deal. They are also dealing with the uncertain futures of players like Martin Odegaard, Gabriel Martinelli, and Leandro Trossard, whose contracts are running down and whose situations have not yet been resolved. All of this is happening at the same time as the Atletico discussions are ongoing. What this tells you is that Arsenal's recruitment team, led by Andrea Berta, is working on several fronts simultaneously in what is shaping up to be one of the most significant transfer windows in the club's recent history. Premier League title winners always attract transfer activity, both in terms of clubs wanting their players and in terms of the club itself wanting to strengthen from a position of power. The club's financial position has improved significantly thanks to the title win, which brings substantial prize money, improved commercial deals, and a higher profile that makes attracting top players easier. But financial fair play rules still impose limits, and the days of spending whatever you want without consequence are long gone. Every decision has to be balanced carefully. The Alvarez situation is one that may ultimately be decided by factors outside Arsenal's control. If Barcelona fail to put together the package Atletico are asking for, if their financial position prevents them from meeting the fee, then Alvarez's options narrow and Arsenal could find themselves in a much stronger position. The football world is watching and waiting. Chapter 7. What should Arsenal fans actually think about all this? If you're an Arsenal fan trying to work out how to feel about this situation, the honest answer is that it is complicated, but not necessarily in a bad way. The fact that Atletico Madrid want Gyökeres is actually a real compliment to the work Arteta and Berta have done in developing him. When you sign a player for 70 million euros, and within one season, one of the top clubs in Europe is reportedly offering over 100 million euros to sign him as part of a massive deal, that shows your investment was a smart one. The fact that Arsenal are in genuine discussions about signing Julian Alvarez, one of the most decorated and talented young strikers in world football, shows the level the club now operates at. 2 years ago, would Arsenal have been seriously in the running for a player of this caliber? Probably not. Now, they're one of the frontrunners. But the most important thing for Arsenal fans to hold on to right now is the internal stance of the club. Arteta and Berta do not want to lose Gyökeres. They believe he can be even better. They want to add to the squad, not reshape it wholesale. That is the right mentality from a club that has just won the Premier League title and wants to keep building from a position of strength. The ideal outcome is clear. Arsenal find a way to bring Alvarez to North London without losing Gyökeres. Alvarez gets over his Barcelona fixation and realizes that joining a Premier League champion with a genuinely exciting project is the best move for his career. And Arsenal go into next season with two elite strikers fighting for the shirt and driving each other to be better. Is that outcome guaranteed? Absolutely not. But it is the outcome Arsenal are working towards, and that ambition alone should excite every single Gunner. Chapter 8. A message to the Arsenal community. To everyone here in the Wenger Arsenal Daily community, this is exactly the kind of story that requires patience and clear thinking rather than panic or overreaction. Transfer windows are long and messy and full of noise. Reports will come out of Spain saying a deal is done when it is not done. Stories will appear suggesting Arsenal are selling their best players when internally the club has no desire to do any such thing. Your job as a Gunner is to stay calm, trust the process, and trust the people running this football club. Mikel Arteta has earned that trust. Andrea Berta has earned that trust. They built a title-winning team. They took us to a Champions League final. They are not going to make desperate or poorly thought-through decisions in the transfer window just because a Spanish journalist writes a dramatic headline. Watch this story develop. Follow it closely, but do not believe everything you read on the first day it appears. Come back to Wenger Arsenal Daily, where we do the research, check the sources, and give you the honest picture of what is actually happening. Conclusion. Let's bring it all together one final time. Atletico Madrid have serious, genuine, and long-standing interest in signing Victor Gyökeres this summer, identifying him as the pure center forward they believe Diego Simeone's system needs for the next several years. Arsenal are genuinely interested in signing Julian Alvarez, a two-time Champions League winner, World Cup winner, and one of the most decorated young strikers on the planet, who scored 20 goals and 9 assists in all competitions for Atletico this past season. Spanish reports of a done deal involving Gyökeres plus 50 million euros for Alvarez have been debunked by reliable sources close to the club, with Team Talk confirming that no agreement has been struck. The major obstacles are Alvarez's own preference for Barcelona, Arsenal's desire to keep Gyökeres, and the financial complexity of any deal. Lines of communication between the clubs remain open, and the story is very much alive. Here is the question we want every Gooner in the community to answer in the comments below. If Arsenal somehow pulled off the impossible and signed Julian Alvarez while keeping Gyökeres, where would that leave us in the conversation about who the best attacking squad in Europe is? And if you had to choose, which player would you rather have, Gyökeres or Alvarez? We want to hear every honest opinion. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this blog with every Arsenal fan you know. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the Wenger Arsenal Daily YouTube channel. We are your most trusted daily source for everything Arsenal, cutting through the noise and giving you the real story on every transfer, every match, and every big moment as this incredible club keeps rising. This summer is just getting started, and this story is far from over. Up the Arsenal, always.